Hello, everyone.
Hello.
How are you today? We have a few people here in the City Hall in the audience, and we have a few people on Zoom. So I'm going to do as we usually do, go around and find out what people would like to talk about, and then we will go ahead and start talking. So I'm going to check in with the people here at City Hall, and if you could introduce yourself and then let me know what you'd like to talk about today.
Sure. My name is Lucinda Hayes, Post Office Box 873, Cannon Beach. And I'm here to talk about an issue that I had with Osplin, the company going around trimming trees in Cannon Beach.
Okay. And can I get your first name again?
Lucinda.
Lucinda, okay. Okay, Jan.
Yeah, I just want to be here to also talk about what's going on with the trees.
Okay. And Eric and Hannah.
Okay, Hannah, I wanted to give a shout out to Robin. We're advocating for the community members that reach out to you. So thank you very much for doing that. I really appreciate it.
Oh, welcome. Thank you. Okay. And Eric.
Basically the same thing. Yeah. Just wanted to give kudos to Robin for speaking out specifically during the city council meeting where Bruce was potentially getting a merit increase. I really appreciated that speaking out on behalf of the community for not giving him not advocating for him to get a merit increase.
Okay. And Tim.
Yeah,
we're going around to talk about what we're going to talk about, and then we'll talk about it. If that makes any sense.
the proposed water and wastewater increases. I just emailed you all this, and I've got printed copies if that helps.
Okay, and Karen is online, so we can talk about that.
And I can probably handle that one too.
Okay. Welcome. All right, what we're doing is the Welcome to Coffee with the Councilors. We're going around talking, asking people what they want to talk about, and then we'll do some talking afterwards. Could I get your name?
Michelle Valagura.
Okay, and Michelle, what would you like to talk about today?
Hi, eavesdropping.
Huh?
I'm eavesdropping.
Oh, okay. That's perfectly fine. All right.
5 feet away.
Oh, okay. Anita, what would you like to talk about today?
Well, mostly I'm just here to participate by listening, but Whale Park status and also the Welcome to Cannon Beach sign.
Okay. Deb.
You're muted.
You're muted, Deb. Deb, you're muted.
Okay, I'm unmuted. So
Okay.
today it's Deb and Bob. Bob's here too. We're both kind of wanting to speak about the TSP plan.
Okay. Lisa.
I'm just here to listen and participate.
All right. Betsy, what would you like to talk about?
Oh, well, gosh, I just saw Les Sinclair come on the screen, and I have to tell you, I am so impressed that he and his wife have done this incredible beautification project at the post office. The postal service didn't seem to be interested in doing that at all. And thank you so much for what you've done. It looks really, really nice, and it's wonderful. And I understand we're going to be meeting the today, which is great. And
You've got some interference with your computer there.
I play with the side of my computer when I'm talking. It's a nervous tick. And I think that's where the microphone is.
Okay.
Anyway, I'll just keep my hands to my. Anyway, the tree people happen to be outside right this minute working on my alder tree. And they're doing a beautiful job, I think, and friendly and nice. And if I had any complaint at all, it would be that they idled their truck for 45 minutes just sitting there, and I mean, I know we have lots of fresh air here, but most of the world doesn't. And, burning, just gratuitously burning up fossil fuels for 45 minutes I almost went out there and said something, but I didn't. But now you guys all get to hear my gripe.
Oh, okay, great. Is it Dan? Dale, what would you like to talk about today?
Well, really nothing is on my mind. I'm just going to listen and see what's going on in Canada Beach. Just keep abreast of things. This is my only plan.
Okay, good. We've got a lot of people here today. Susie.
Hi, I'm sort of in the same boat as several people here, just wanting to participate in discussion and get more familiar with the happenings of Cannon Beach.
Okay, good. Les.
So Lynn is here, but on another line currently. Thank you, Betsy, for those kind words, though that was completely my wife's doing, other than the heavy lifting, which is my best thing. So I helped with that. I'm just here to listen today, but Lynn does have something she'd like to share, probably like as a good of the order or toward the end of the session.
Okay.
And that's it.
All right. Rick, is there something you want to talk about today?
Morning, everybody. The only thing I want to remind everybody is the Dugami presentation on Thursday at Coaster Theater at 6:30. It'll be a live presentation, and we'll also offer a virtual component to that, and we'll be sending that out later today.
And that's about the new tsunami maps, is that right?
That's correct. That's the Beat the Wave maps, which is going to lead to better knowledge, better understanding, and then we're going to be modifying and improving the signage around the town.
Okay, great. Well, we'll hear a little bit more about that in a few minutes. How about that? Cindy.
Hello, thank you. I'm just really here to listen, and I'm interested in finding out what is going on in the community and if there's any other follow-up information about the transportation issues. So thank you. Thanks for providing this venue.
Sure. Greg.
Curious about your take on the TSP status and otherwise just listening.
Okay. And Karen. Oh, Karen.
Karen is there to help if I need it. She's just doing her regular routine. She may
Okay.
not be in her office right now.
We're going to probably need her because there's a couple of people that have questions about things that she is involved with. Also, I want to let you know that we have our new code enforcement officer, Luke Williams, with us today. And we also have Jason Skirmerhorn, who is our police chief. So, and Karen is on the line and Rick is on the line. So we have a full complement, as well as Bruce is here too. So we have a full complement of city officials as well to answer your questions. So let's go to tree cutting. Lucinda, you had something you wanted to say.
I do. This is mostly a cautionary tale, I guess, of my experience with Osland and with specifically Mike Smith. I received one of the ubiquitous door hangers saying that they were going to work on one of my trees. And it's a tree that borders right on Hemlock Street. Not very tall. It does not impinge on Pacific power lines at all. So I was curious what exactly he planned to do. So of course I called him and he said, well, that tree was scheduled to be topped. And I had just listened to the meeting that we had with all the Pacific Power people who had said that topping wasn't going to be a choice any longer because it's so detrimental to the trees. So he and I had quite a long discussion in that vein. And he said that he would come out and look at the tree and we could make a decision then how the tree would be handled. He did not come, he did not call. And in the meantime, I also sent an email to Jeff Adams just to let him know that I was having a disagreement with Pacific Power and basically what was going on and what would he think, what would his recommendation be. To this date, sitting here, I've not heard back from him. I also contacted Joe Balden, the retired arborist for the city of Cannon Beach, because I've known him for a long time and trust him implicitly. He did come out and look at the tree. He said that only what was needed on the tree was just a very minor pruning, that the tree had just a few little branches that were getting close to the wires. It's not a very big tree. It's not a very old tree. It's probably 15 years old. So Mike Smith did not come to my house like he said he would. He said he went to the wrong address on Larch Street. But he did come by when I was not at home and take a look at the tree, and he did call and agree that no, the tree did not need to be topped. It just needed some special careful pruning and it would be fine. He said that he would make a note on his file that anybody coming to my house to work on the tree was to call me first to be sure I was there so that I could go out and observe what they were doing. And that he was putting a note in the file also that the tree absolutely was not to be topped. It was just to be pruned. And on Saturday morning, 2 days ago, I became aware that one of the trucks was on my street working on another house. So I went out to be out there if they were going to pull up to my house, which in fact they did. They did not call first to tell me they were coming, like Mike Smith had indicated they would do. And when they got to my house and started setting up all of their equipment, I asked them what they were going to do that day. And one of the workers, neither one of them could understand me very well, and I couldn't understand them very well, but he just made a sign that they were just going to top the tree. And I said to him, well, no, you're not going to top the tree. And we've had this understanding, this conversation with your supervisor, Mike Smith, you're just going to prune. And so he called up his other coworker to see if we could have a better conversation, which we really couldn't. The only thing that he said to me was, we're going to top the tree. Topping is beautiful. And I said, no, topping is not beautiful and you're not going to top the tree. And he said, but topping is beautiful. And I repeated again, no, it's not beautiful. You're not going to top the tree. And you have notes on your computer generated by your supervisor, Mike Smith, that you can go look at if you need to. And they didn't do that. They instead used their phone to call their supervisor that they said was, or he said he was in Seaside. And they had a long conversation with him, which I didn't understand anything that was said. It was, they were not speaking in English, but the phone was then handed to me and I spoke with the supervisor and asked him, did he not have notes in front of him? Did he not know what's supposed to be done on this tree? And he said, no, he didn't, that he had not communicated with his workers because Wi-Fi is so bad in our area, although he had a clear connection to me. We had a long conversation and I just said, well, I'm sorry, they're not going to top the tree. They're just going to prune it. And he said, do you want them to move on and not work on your tree today? And I said, no, it's fine, as long as the work is done how we had agreed it was going to be done. So finally he spoke to his workers again and they did a very slight pruning of the tree. And then they moved on down the street. My point in coming and relaying all of this is that clearly elements of Cannon Beach and those of us that are trying to protect the trees don't have good communication with the people that are out there to work on the trees. I'm sure that these two gentlemen had good intentions. They probably were doing their job as they saw it for that day, but they had no clue at all that they were not to do that. And had I not been home, I would have gone home to a tree cut literally about in half because it's not a very tall tree. Which in my mind would have, well, it would have been an egregious insult to the tree and likely damaged it, possibly killed it, I don't know. But I wouldn't have had any say at that point had I not been home. So again, I view this as kind of a cautionary tale that we're not, and I use the general we, all of us in the city council, the people doing the work, we're not communicating with one another, and nor are we backing up what we've said is our intent as far as taking care of the trees. And I liken this back to Pacific Power and what they said during the city council meeting, that they were never going to proceed this way with trees if it could be avoided. And clearly, the gentleman that came to my house didn't know that. Had no way to access the computer, I believe, to find out how they were to proceed. So extrapolate that into the entire population of Cannon Beach, and you've got the possibility of a lot of damage that could be done. So
Already has been done. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. I'm not sure how to get around that. Bruce, you?
No, we'll contact Alicia at Pacific Power because they did make commitments to us, but this is an internal communication part on their side where if you had the conversation, was it with Mr. Williams, you said?
It was Mike Smith.
Smith, okay, Smith.
Of the tree service.
Okay, and yeah, because and they're subcontractors. Now, I don't know how much information gets to the subs, but they usually it's not their company. It's not Pacific Power doing the trimming. It's Ashland, and so there's clearly a glitch in what is being conveyed after the meeting that we had here. So I'll follow up on that.
Well, I think more to the point, the workers were not able to access information that was on their computer system. They had some sort of system for communication in their truck. And I would have assumed that they would have had instructions by the address of the home.
Okay, and is Mr. Smith, is he with Ashland or was he with Pacific Power?
Mike Smith is with Ashland.
Okay, then they should have had that. You're right. Okay.
Well, I assume that. I don't know. His name was on this Pacific Power door hanger.
Yeah, because I don't know if, for example, if there's something in the Pacific Power computer, I don't know if it makes it to Ashland. But if Smith was the person you talked to and he's with Ashland, then they should have had that. But because there's a conversation with Pacific Power, we have to make sure that Pacific Power is getting to the right people at Ashland, which may or may not have happened in this case.
Exactly.
Okay.
And would you get back to Lucinda then after your conversation with Elisa? Would that be possible?
Yeah. So Lucinda, if you give me your information after, I want you to announce it on TV here, but I will follow up with you.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Is there somebody's phone?
Mine. Sorry, I've had 5 calls since we started.
Okay. Jan, did you want to say anything about that?
I think just echoing that we need to do something, and if Bruce really follows through, I'd be very grateful.
Okay, all right. Let's see, Hannah, Eric, did you want to say anything more? Did you have anything else that you want to talk about?
Not at the moment.
No, just kudos to Robin for listening to what we hear is pretty pervasive around town, that the citizens don't necessarily think that Bruce is doing a good job at what he's accomplishing as city manager, and that he's not due a merit increase. Cost of living, yeah, everyone gets cost of living, but a merit increase for doing above and beyond the expectations of the citizens, I don't think is merited as well.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Oh, is Karen, you?
I can handle it. What is he?
Because Anita wanted to know about the whale park and
the Whale Park, think we have a contractor that's lined up to come in and do the stairs. And we're going to put the park back together the way that it was. And the second question was welcome to Cannon Beach sign. That is a project that, let me see, is funded to the Chamber of Commerce, and that is their project. So I don't have a status on it right now.
I appreciate that, Bruce, but I still am wondering why it's been taking so long for Whale Park to come back to its original state of use. It seems like it's been nearly a year, and it almost speaks to some maybe vindictiveness that runs in the Public Works Department that's not being taken care of. As
There she is.
the welcome to Cannon Beach sign, I mean, it's in such a state of disrepair that it's hard to believe that it's even a welcome sign anymore. And I feel like Cannon Beach, being the crown jewel of the North Coast, has one of the most decrepit signs in the area, from Seaside to Wheeler. And I understand that the chamber has $45,000, I believe you said, that was given from the city from the hotel tax. But I don't see that there's any movement going forward to try to replace that.
I could try to get a status from Jim Pano, but the sign is not a city sign, and then the sign is not on city property. And it was something that was initially done by the chamber, and we've given the money to the chamber to refurbish it.
But does the city have any say in moving the chamber forward and having a nice welcome sign to Cannon Beach?
They got it through, I think it was a TAC grant, a Tourism and Arts grant. And so if they don't finish the project or they don't do the project, then they return the money.
So then basically Cannon Beach won't have a welcome to Cannon Beach sign.
If the chamber has until, I don't know how long it is, probably till at least July 1st to get the sign done. And like I said, I'll follow up on the status, but it is it's a chamber project, and I guess it could become a city project, but it was initially a chamber project.
Before that, it had been, when we had the Parks and Community Service Committee, we had looked at doing a sign, and we did quite an extensive look at different signs going down the coast and also in Oregon that were impressive, but somehow it just got dropped. So the chamber has picked it up recently. But I don't see why it couldn't be our effort if they can't do it.
Oh, it could, but for whatever reason, it was decided that it would be the chamber.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine that the chamber is in charge of doing it, but I just don't know who can oversee the chamber to say, will you please move forward with it?
I can follow up with them.
Maybe we could get a report at least for the next council meeting, if not earlier.
Yeah.
Nah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and also I just want to address the Whale Park. It has not been a year since the water line break, and there's no vindictiveness where Public Works would not do a project to get back at the citizens of this city. That's outrageous.
Well, there's just talk in town, that's all.
Okay, I know there's a lot of talk in town, but
So I'm glad that
Karen's
you're
here,
saying
so she
that so that it's on record. Thank you.
Karen's here. She can talk about that.
Yeah, I would like to address that. Like every contractor in town, resources, they're struggling. You've seen how wet our spring is, and when it comes to concrete, they have to have a stretch of time dry enough that they can actually pour the concrete, and that happens to be concrete stain. So there's a paint stain inside that concrete, and it cures differently than just a foundation you pour for your house. So our contractor that we've awarded that job to is trying to get it in his schedule and get a time frame where they could not only set up the forming for the stairs, but then pour it and then it can cure properly. Otherwise, we're going to bust those stairs out, have to redo them because they'll crack. So just bear with the contractor. The city's just trying to be as patient as possible with them. They can't help that they don't have a full crew that they would normally have. This is a contractor that does a lot of concrete work for us. So he's trustworthy. He is just overwhelmed right now. So please just be patient with him, and he'll do a fabulous job, but he has that on the schedule. He is committed to getting it done before our June 30th budget cutoff this year. It's a matter of just trying to get it scheduled. He couldn't even get the exposed aggregate concrete or the stain that matched the planners to begin with. So once we broke through that issue, it was a matter of just getting it scheduled and have a break in the weather. So that is the only reason Well Park has been delayed.
Do you know when that actually occurred?
December 18th.
December 18th. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Who is the
Anita, do you have any other?
contractor? Just wondering who the contractor is.
Daryl. Sorry, drawn a blank on his last name. I'll shoot you an email, but
Okay.
he's
If you
the
could
guy that's
get a hold of Anita and let her know.
Yeah. He does our pads for our pop-up parks where we put our benches and things like that. So he was one of the 3 people that bid on the project.
Okay, thank you.
She'll get back in touch with you, Anita, with the name.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Deb and Bob, you had questions or concerns?
So I'm gonna just go through this quickly because we have so many people here. I want to talk about the perception from last Tuesday meeting of transportation plan and the comments from that evening. There was really some headwinds, and I feel them today too, of discontent, mistrust, complaining. And I wonder if anybody's thinking about how those comments are affecting us in the city. Are we a thorn in the side of the city, questioning everything in a deflating and uninspiring way? It seems some are trying to micromanage the city officials and everything that they do. As a nurse, I never told the brain surgeon how to do surgery. Where are the boundaries of overstepping your expertise? I found the meeting last Tuesday was awful and left me shocked and horrified and embarrassed. It was like an affection of insults and suspicion that is totally unfounded. You think city officials should come to you? There are 1,450 people that live here. Bruce has been at Wednesday morning meetings. Really, they have outreach everywhere asking for advice for months. And I don't know how people communicate, but please tell us how to communicate. I would help them for free. If you're so interested, call Jeff or attend a meeting. It's not their responsibility to spend hours trying to please everybody. They are busy too. There are multiple communications and meetings about the transportation plan. What more is there? The city does not have hidden agendas. I haven't found any. I've been hearing a lot of this complaining in the town too. I haven't found anything wrong. We must think about how we diminish each other and zap their morale. How are actions and words harming their efforts? Your influence can be contagious and spread like a virus to others in this community. By not offering any solutions and constantly criticizing and complaining, the volume of it is making us weary. We are talking about a 20-year plan and it's not happening tomorrow. We're choosing a menu. I love that, which Kathy put out, and they're asking for our input. It's not to be done it's going to be done as the finances allow, not tomorrow. And what created this sudden urgency to react, and because there is a strategic plan from a very competent company, if you look them up on the website, Parametrics. Also, the coffee with the councilors, the last comments. Yes, Aaron Matusik was voted to the planning commission. He has a degree in environmental law from Lewis and Clark College and has just organized all of us to write in about stopping drones. He's very strong on the environment. He's not a developer. He upgrades this town. Mickey's a lawyer and worked for the Center of Biological Diversity. They're both a blessing and they're very qualified and they were chosen for a reason. So I don't know why that's being questioned, and they're not old. Nancy McCarthy's comment about run for committee and council for mayor, I saw it as a very diplomatic way to deal with it. And look at her. She's educated. She went to Reed College. She's got a high IQ. We are blessed to have her. She's strong on the environment. There are strong, there are strong opinions expressed not based on any facts, and accusations are not true. Aaron wasn't hired because of the food tax. His credentials were what mattered. Then the old people comment, okay? I'm old. Old people have wisdom. They have experience. They're educated. They're successful. They have ideas and solutions. People living here are lawyers and engineers and financial planners and fundraisers and marketing specialists and doctors and nurses and veterinarians and architects and technological experts. And you discount that? I'm not sure what is old. How many young people live in this town? The majority of people in Cannon Beach are older. And then there's this guy, Rusty, who's stalking behavior, harassing the city and public works director. What's that about? That behavior is unacceptable. She has secured grants for this city and is doing a great job. I have researched this. I've looked up all the records and there's nothing. She has been cleared, yet continues on with this in Cannon Beach. For everyone and anyone supporting this behavior, knock it off.
Deb, do you have a question? Is there a question in there somewhere?
No, I just want to finish. I have one more paragraph. We do not want him on our streets. And I think that should be, defamatory behavior is not okay. I think we should show some gratitude and inspire city leaders and have empathy for their positions, their education, and their morale. Build them up, not tear them down. There are people too, just trying to do what's best for Cannon Beach. No one's 100%. Think of the cost it is to replace them and to find the right people. Think about how you're treating them. What happened to being polite, having manners, and respect? This is a small town, and we all have to live together. Our opinions may differ at times, and others we will not agree, and sometimes we will. And how can we be constructive and uplift one another, be kind, find solutions, and be good neighbors? So I think we should start right where we can agree on something and then go step by step.
Okay, I'm going to have to interrupt you because we've got some time.
Okay.
We're running out of time.
Bob.
I'll let someone else go ahead. I can wait a little bit. We're
Okay.
limited on time, so go ahead.
All right. Lisa, you're just listening. Do you have any comments or anything that you want to make?
I just want to say that sometimes people make lots and lots of comments or that even border on maybe sounding insulting, but I am a very strong proponent of free speech. I think people have a right to express themselves. If they don't like something, I think this is a representative government, and I think they should feel free to say what they think and express what's bothering them, whether I like it or not, or whether anybody else likes it or not. So, I haven't heard anyone be terribly abusive. I mean, I've, been the target of some of it myself, but I don't take it personally, because when you're sitting on a commission or in a representative position, that's just what happens. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Betsy, did you have anything else? Did you have a question like for the code enforcement officer?
No, thank you.
This is a first.
Well, I'd be glad to go on and on. I mean, it seems like the order of the day, but no, there's other people who want to speak. So thanks you guys for all that you do, and great meeting.
Okay, I think Lynn wants to go a little bit later, so I'm going to move down to, let's talk about.
Dr. Wayne?
Huh?
Did you see Dr. Wayne?
Yeah, and he said that he was, did I talk to, I may not have talked to him. Okay, Dr. Bob, do you have something you'd like to say?
No, I'm just listening today.
Okay, all right. And then we have somebody new, Brown?
Mo Brown.
Hi, I don't know you. Is it Mo Brown?
Yes.
Do you have anything you'd like to talk about? And you're muted. Okay, guess not. And Greg, you wanted to talk about the TSP? And you're muted.
Sorry, this is Mo. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. I was muted and I
Oh,
couldn't
okay.
figure out how to, for whatever reason, after 2.5 years, I couldn't unmute myself. But no, I was just listening, but thank you.
Okay, so you're just listening. All right. Greg, did you have anything you wanted to say?
No, I didn't have anything to add. I am just curious as two council members, what your thoughts are. There's obviously been, and it's been discussed today, there's a lot of, banter going back and forth on the TSP and Lolly's emails and things like that. And I just want to know what's on the mind of the councilors.
Robin, would you like to take that on?
Sure. One of the things I'd like to propose is that everyone actually take a ride through what the proposed trail is going to be. Because I think I was very surprised to see that there was going to be, you'd be going on Hemlock, you'd be going down Fernwood, you'd be going along Pacific, then you'd be going back up off of Matanuska, going across the highway up Yukon to a dead end where you would have to forge through trees. When Jeff said he'd run that trail, I doubt that he did that part of it because I don't see how you'd get through it to 101. And I just hope that everyone will really take a good look at where that trail is going so that they will all either welcome it or question it. And we can hear your thoughts. So that's my little.
Okay. What I look at I love Kathy's metaphor as for the TSP as a menu, because I guess I look at it as a whole right now. We're not in the process of approving individual parts of the plan. We're looking at the plan as a whole. The Planning Commission will have an opportunity next to take a look at it, have questions about various aspects of it. I have some real questions about several aspects of it. The roundabouts I'm not thrilled with by any means. The trail I have some questions about. I definitely don't want to see trees come down to make way for the trail. I think there is a need for a trail of some kind, but maybe not as sophisticated as has been put out in the plan. So I have some real questions, but my interpretation of it is that when we get to those, as the 20 years go, it's a 20-year plan. So as the years go on, when aspects of those plans come up for a decision, that each aspect of the plan will be discussed thoroughly by both the Planning Commission and the City Council before those decisions are made. And the designs will be discussed and debated. I don't expect that we're going to approve the TSP one day and start working on all the projects the next day. And I would hope that we wouldn't, because I think they do need to be thoroughly, all of them need to be thoroughly vetted to see what it is we really want in the community. This is just the beginning of thinking about what might happen in the community. It's not an urbanization as I don't see it. Maybe other people do see it that way, but I don't see it as an urbanization of Cannon Beach. I see it as a way of being able to live here and travel through Cannon Beach, either walking or driving or bicycling, and still trying to keep the village character as we know it and have come to love. But it's a plan that gives us kind of a format to work from. And it's not something that is going to go through without a lot of debate. That's the way I look at it. Greg, did you have any other questions?
No, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. Thank you.
Okay. Rick Gray. Well, let's see. I wanted to say hello. And did you have anything you wanted to talk about? And then I'm going to go to Tim because Tim came here before you did, but I wanted to see if there was a subject that you had a question about.
Actually, just Kevin today.
Okay. So Tim, you had questions about the water and wastewater.
Yeah, and if I may have the liberty, I'd pick up on some of Deb's comments. I wrote a piece not long ago congratulating, Bruce St. Dennis and Karen Labonte and, Jeff Adams on real wins for our town. Getting the bond issue done and refinanced was terrific. Karen scored us some really great low interest loans. And Bruce has been, Jeff has been consistently delivering with pretty great planning plans. Whether you agree or not with all the components of the TSP, there's some great work there. So I would try to add my support to our hardworking executives and thank them for the job. And I didn't have a chance to do it, but I would have written in support of a merit increase, and I believe that's still on the table. So, but I've been focusing on the budget committee. I'm applying to be on the budget committee for the third time. Seems like living on Oak Street has had something to do with not being chosen for that. And I noticed there's a lot of material there, as you know. But looking at water and wastewater rates, so our unrestricted, and I've got, do you mind if I?
Go ahead.
I've emailed this to the three of you, but I might as well just.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to have to wing it because that's my only, you've got it by email.
And Karen is back there too, so.
But, so we, first on the water fund, the unrestricted fund balance went up by 64%. And now we're projecting it to go up by, almost $500,000, more than double. And to get there, we've proposed a 15% rate increase. And the previous projection was 8% there. 15% is a big number for utility rate increases. What's that about?
Karen, could you answer that?
Karen doesn't do the rates. I can talk about the rates.
Okay.
The rates are, we have loans that are, well, first of all, there's no way we could do projects based on pay-as-you-go. The projects are in the $12 million range, $3 million range, and that would be like doubling, tripling with the rates in order to be able to accomplish those. And then another aspect of that is that if we were to do do a rate so that we could go ahead and do those projects and put it on all of you, then everybody for the next 50 years would get the benefit of that without paying. If we do it by doing doing debt service, and if it's over 30 years, then you will pay, if you're here for 5 years, you'll pay 5 years of that debt service. Somebody else will pay for every other year after that, so that the cost is distributed across the people that are actually using the project. So there were some serious gaps. For example, the lines that run down from the springs and is handled by a tank. Tank was put in before there were seismic requirements. The lines are about 40, 50 or more years old. They're asbestos concrete. And so there's a good chance that if there was a seismic event and something happens up on that side of the road, there is no water. There's no water coming to the town. We are replacing it with what's called HDPE pipe, which is flexible. And we are planning on putting on a new water tank and putting in a new tank that will last, because if that tank goes, there's no water pressure anywhere in the city until we build a new tank, which is years. So we're trying to go ahead and think ahead. So that's the reason for the projects that we're doing. Now, to get the rates are based on the debt service that is coming due as we going for the loans that we've been getting. Now we're starting to do the projects, and so we're having to pay. I can't tell you offhand what the difference was between the projection of 8% and the 15%. I will get that answer, but that is what's going on with the rate. It's time to go ahead and start paying for those to get those projects done.
So, I mean, nothing really changed. We had those grants and low interest loans in mind when we thought about 8%, is that right?
I believe so.
And we got those to pay for these big capital improvements.
Yes.
Which are generally, as you point out, not something you can do as a pay-as-you-go kind of thing. So 15% is a big number. Same, I mean, I won't go over the numbers, you've got them, but the same is true on wastewater. We're projecting or proposing up 9.5%. You know, just want to make sure we're drilling down on that because we're also taking the general fund up, you know, almost 60% last year, and then more than doubling the unrestricted fund this year. Why do we need that?
I'm sorry,
why do we need to have an unrestricted fund that's 875,000 when we were 240,000 in 19-20?
And I would need to look at what the numbers were prior to that, but in 1920, that was not a great year for us. And so we'd need to go ahead and look before. And we also, by having those kind of unrestricted fund balances, we went from A3, little a with Standard Poor's to a double A, capital A with, maybe it was the other way around. No, the first one was with Moody's. So we've increased or improved the borrowing capability and the bond rating and all that for the city by having those kind of reserves. And there was another aspect to how the reserves came about, is that we were very conservative in going forward with the expenditures during a time when everybody thought that the world was not going to be doing well. And it just happened that we are in a little slice of it that did very well once people figured out they didn't have to work from the office. And so the TLT collections went up. And so by being conservative on the revenue side and then being fortunate on the expenditure side, we were conservative. And then very lucky on the revenue side, we were able to go ahead and produce those results. And it's resulted in a better bond rating we've got a couple, let me see, we have at least one more bond coming up that we'll be looking for that is considerable.
If we just have a commitment to review that with the budget committee meeting today, that'd be awesome. All of that makes sense. And, maybe the correct interpretation, but water rates are a very regressive tax. It's a 15% increase will hit some people hard.
Sure, understood. And Tim, if you want, we can spend some time with our finance director because she can cover all those specifics better than what I can. So just let me know if you ever want to sit down with that.
And we are having a budget committee meeting today at 1:00 here in the city hall. So yeah, we're almost there, aren't we?
I'm asking you to be my proxy.
So we are having a meeting at 1:00 today, and also the meeting that we had last Wednesday was recorded. So if you would like to go back, and there was an extensive discussion on water and water rates and projects and everything.
Takes a long time to go through this.
I mean, it was a good 2-hour discussion alone on water. So, but it is recorded and it is on our website. So if anybody wants to catch up on that, feel free. And we will have a Zoom session as well as in-house today at 1:00. So, and that.
If I want to quickly just go over the wastewater too, because water, everybody is familiar with. Wastewater, everybody wants to forget about. But the conditions of our system were not very good at all. And we're finally in a position that we're taking out things that were just put in to get us by. and we're putting in, real controls. The generators, right now, our folks have to go ahead and run around with generators to, when the power is out. And the controls are not good, the generators are not good. And when you have a problem in wastewater, it ends up in the streets or on the beach. And that's what we're trying to avoid. And I would probably give us a C+ to a B as far as our capabilities right now. It's
We're
people.
getting those shingles figured out. That was my takeaway from the meeting last.
Yes, we have to do the shingles too, but there's people that sleep in their trucks. And we're trying to move generators around on bad nights to make sure we don't put stuff on the beach or the streets.
All right, let's move on. Bob, I think you wanted to say something?
I'd like to. Is anybody else? Do they want to have a chance to speak? We're running low on time. I've got a few minutes of comments. Anybody else? Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, thanks all of you for being here today. It's a lot of your time besides what you do on city council. So thank you. I want to talk about the city council meeting last Tuesday with Jeff Adams and Eduardo from Parametrics presenting the draft of the TSP. My first memories of Cannon Beach, this area, probably about 1960. And I remember the town of Cannon Beach, probably about 1965, before Maury Clark came along. I remember driving the beach in the 1960s in the family station wagon. I remember what this place used to be like. I get it. Okay. People are mourning the loss of the town of what it used to be. I get it. I understand that. Sisters and Bend and Hood River and Government Camp and Timberline Lodge. There's a lot of places that aren't the same. They've changed. So the city and the Chamber of Commerce have been heavily promoting this area for decades, and now we're suffering the consequences. I was reading an article about Moab, Utah, another small town that promoted itself very heavily, and they're having the same problems we are. There's real estate prices have gone up. There's no place for workers to live. It's gridlock traffic. There's pollution. There's litter. There's just too many people. So we're not the only people having the problem. So they presented the draft of the TSP last week, and both these guys, I think, are really intelligent. They're educated. They've spent hours working on this draft plan. And while I absolutely support citizens being able to voice their opinion, that's really important. I have a problem when their comments cross the line into personal attacks and denigrating people. And I saw that happen at the council meeting last week. I heard someone say that Eduardo's never been to Cannon Beach and he can't pronounce Televana right. And this is being directed at a guy who's spent, I don't know how many hours working on this plan. I thought he was really insulting to him. The comments about not needing walking in bike paths because we have a beach, about going up Yukon Street. We drove up there a couple of days ago. There's a half a dozen houses on Yukon Street and they're all off the street. They're set back. It's not going to have an impact. And the S curves are really dangerous to walk and bicycle through. We go down there all the time and there's people walking along and you have a shoulder that's a foot or two wide. It's not safe. We need to have an alternative for people. So I support looking at all the options of the TSP and we should all keep an open mind. Cannon Beach ain't what it used to be, but we got to deal with the change that's being forced upon us. And I really am bothered by the attacks on city council members and city employees. I think we should form something like a NATO alliance with the council members and city employees. And Article 5 says an attack on any one member is an attack on all of you, and you all come to their defense. It really bothers me to see that because you guys work really hard and spend a lot of your time doing the best you can. So anyway, I appreciate everything you guys do. I think you're all really good people. So thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you, Bob.
Nancy? Can I just make a comment following along those lines? Anita, I hear some of the same comments that people are saying this, people are saying that. They like the comment that somehow there's a vendetta and I don't know who it would be against, and that's why Whale Park is not done. And there's all good reasons. And I noticed some people here kind of smirking when somebody said something about some other sort of a conspiracy thing that might be coming out of the city. And there's not. I mean, we're not out to get anybody. But Anita, you or anybody else, if there's people talking and those kind of conversations are going on, first day I met you, I gave you my cell number. Please call me. I'll come down to where they are and we can have a conversation. I'll try to provide the best information that we can. If I usually get comments that people are saying this and it's second or third hand. So if somebody just tells me what kind of things are being said, I'll try to address it in the bulletin or something like that to provide factual information. But there is more, I don't know, my daughter would say talking smack in this city than any place else that I've ever been. And I'm not sure why, but I know a lot of things are repeated without getting verified. And I'll give if everybody wants it, here, just grab a pencil and a piece of paper because this is my cell number. It's 503-440-5557, 503-440-5557. Call me when these things are going on, or call me when you see something that you don't think is right. Because I can tell you of those kind of comments that I've heard, and I'll use the one about Whale Park, they're just not true. But I don't know if people don't follow up and talk to somebody that might have some more information than the person that they're talking to. I can see why those things continue to be spread. And I don't think that you have anything to worry about in terms of what the city might be trying to do to you. And I would like to work to try to go ahead and dispel those things.
I appreciate that, Bruce. And that's one of the reasons that I joined and wanted to be part of the Parks Committee was so that I could see some of the workings within city staff and council so that I could feel that I could have an answer to some of the people that I hear from regarding some of the situations in the city that they are looking at from the outside. So I appreciate that.
Well, and thank you, Anita, for taking that step. That's the right step as opposed to just repeating what you hear.
Yes.
But thank you for doing that.
Yeah, thank you.
I will, I know, Dr. Bob.
I only want to say that I really think Bruce and Karen do a spectacular job. We're very lucky to have them representing us. And I want to put a plug in for Jason as well, just because we're kissing everybody right now. And Aaron and Mickey are new players that are phenomenal. They're both lawyers interested in helping with the activities in our town and are very good players. So I think we're very lucky to have these people. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like Luke to introduce himself. He's been very quiet.
Hi, everybody. My name is Luke Williams. I just started as the code enforcement officer.
About yourself?
Yeah. I moved to town about 10 or 11 years ago. I've been working random jobs throughout towns at the conference center for a while. I worked at US Bank and at the Sea Level Bakery for a while. And then I've been volunteering with the fire department for the past couple of years. And then I started this job last month.
All right. Well, we are very happy to have you here.
Thank you.
We get a lot of code, believe it or not, we get a lot of code enforcement.
We got lucky today.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, Luke, you're so tiny on this screen. I'm so glad you are our new code enforcement officer. How wonderful.
He's big when you get closer up to him.
I know exactly who he is, and he's an absolutely wonderful guy.
Yep. Yes.
And go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just want to say we're lucky to have him.
We are. I think Lynn had something she wanted to say. Oh, Lynn. Oh, maybe they're not on.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, we can hear you, Lynn.
Well, I wanted to give an attaboy to the city. We have a lot behind us that's being cleared. When they started clearing it, we contacted city. KV gave us a map of the trees to be cut. We went over and visited with them, found out they were going to cut down a tree that wasn't permitted. called Jeff. Within an hour, Jeff was over there talking to him. He said, don't do anything till the city arborist comes. The city arborist came the next week, and guess what? We got a tree saved, 70-foot tall tree. And it's all because, as hard as it is to pick up that phone and call Jeff again, that's what we have to do to make the system work. The system works if we speak up and say something. And that was my good news for the day. I appreciate the appreciation for the post office. It was something I felt our city needed, a bright spot. We'll see y'all next time y'all talk.
Thanks, Lynn.
And I do want to ask Rick again to repeat the information about Thursday night.
Yeah, Thursday night, Degami will be doing the Beat the Wave presentation with their specialists and their professionals, and it'll be 6:30. I recommend getting there a few minutes early because it may or may not be a packed house. I'm not quite sure. It'll also be offered online, and we'll be sending that out today as soon as we make sure that the whole system works well. And so you can show up in person or you can view it online, and we will be recording this event. So we'll also be able to save that for the future.
Yeah, we used to have every year we used to have tsunami events at the coaster forums to tell people what the update was on our research and our plans for evacuation. So this is the first time in 3 or 4 years at least that we've had this. So I think it's very important. Betsy.
I just wanted to double check that will that link be on the city's website or will we
Yes.
have to be on your mailing list? Okay, thanks.
No, they'll go out on the website. It'll also be sent out on social media, and I will also send it out to the community notification list. Rusty and I are just making sure that all that stuff works correctly, and then we're going to send it out. And it'll be a really great presentation, like Nancy's talking about. There hasn't been any updates for a little while, and Degami's been really busy. And they finally have gotten to these things, and there's a lot of good information about modifying some of our routes and making them more streamlined and making more clarity so people can get to safety quicker.
And I would, on a note, like to thank Rick for filling out a form that allows the realtors within our area to come to the meeting and get core hour credit. I think that's going to serve all of us well for all of our realtors to be up to speed on what Degami is going to tell us. So thank you, Rick.
You bet.
Hey, Nancy, can I just say I'm sorry for getting so gunned up, but a lot of these people are my friends, and I'm like really sad about it. Okay, I don't want to see people get hurt and feel bad and go have bad weekends, and you know. I love this town so much that I want to see all of us, you know, Bruce is my neighbor and a lot of you are my friends, and I don't want to see any more attacks on people. It's not okay. I mean, I want everybody to care about each other and create a better feeling.
Thank you, Deb. We appreciate that. Anybody else have any Hannah?
I just have a last thing. So apparently we frustrated a lot of people by using making folks feel old, I guess. But that was in response to Mike Benfield calling this a retirement community, which I do not think it is. And I don't think most of us would think this is a retirement community. But also a lot of these projects that are being implemented or the budgets that are being spread out are more than 20 years. And so I think that we need to consider the next generations that are coming forward, because if I don't know how many of you folks think you're going to be here in 20 years. I assume I'm going to be here in 20 years because I don't know how to build this hotel. But that I really hope that when you're considering these projects, you're thinking about our generation and the things that we're going to have to pay for that will follow us the rest of our lives. And additionally, according with some comments about how smart folks are and about realtors and architects and engineers and everything. There's a lot of folks that work in our community that are restaurant workers and hoteliers and cleaners and things like that. And maybe they've gone to school, maybe they haven't had the opportunities that some of us have, but that doesn't mean that their opinions and thoughts about what happens in this community aren't valid. Thank you.
Okay, on that note, I think we will call it a day. We're about 5 minutes over our time, and I like to have meetings that don't go over time. So here we are. So thank you for joining us today. We had quite the discussion. These meetings are getting more and more interesting all the time. And hopefully we will see you Thursday night at the Coaster Theater or at 1 o'clock today at the budget meeting, because those are so exciting meeting. So please join us whenever you can, and we will see you next month.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.